mysterious glowing ring on the ground. Unexplained impressions found in the earth. Windshield of a deputy sheriff's squad car smashed.
I believe that something extraterrestrial really did happen here. Nobody's ever been able to prove that it was something different.
Is the evidence of UFO landings, flyovers, and collisions out there?
And it's probably the biggest story of mankind if we come out and show the people the evidence.
And in a History Channel exclusive, new evidence to a major UFO encounter forces one investigator to reopen a case.
It's damage that was caused by a force pushing that windshield in and then back out again.
Really?
From photographs to soil samples and lab results, UFO files, alien encounters. April 6th, 2001, Mount Clemens, Michigan. It seems like a routine drive down a desolate highway. That is, until one woman's nighttime journey goes from mundane to bizarre.
And as she was going down the road, she noticed that there was a bright basketball-sized object heading toward her.
It appears to be just above the highway surface. And as they're coming at each other, the closing rate's pretty great. And she can see what looks like a pinwheel configuration, little sort of plumes coming out around it, as though it's rotating rapidly.
Although rotating orbs are commonplace in UFO lore, one element of this story puts it into another league entirely.
Suddenly, there's an impact on the passenger side of the top of the car, which she could feel and hear quite distinctly. And the thing continues to fly away. And immediately she pulls over and, obviously scared to death, gets out of the car, and she finds a trail of a sort of yellowish residue on the red paint.
This residue is what ufologists classify as trace evidence.
Actually, what we're looking at are the fingerprints of UFOs. This is something that they generate as a solid mass.
Whether it's a burn circle, burn ring, vegetation that doesn't grow anymore, whatever. There's a physical effect. It's not just an observation by the eyeballs. Something you can go to after the saucer is left.
In the Michigan case, the trace evidence, the tan residue located on the car, is subjected to a thorough forensic analysis by an analytical chemist who specializes in identifying materials.
I found that the tan material is composed of a metal oxide, and I couldn't really specifically identify it. Then there was also a celluloidal material. That's a material related to plants, probably natural origin.
This natural material that Phyllis Budinger discovers may be a clue to the object's origin.
It was almost plant-like in nature, and yet it had other indications that it was mechanical. And the most interesting thing to me was that she determined, because of residue on this material, that this thing probably, very probably, had been submerged in a farm pond or something like that a short time before it impacted the automobile.
Buttinger rules out a small meteor and a foreign object from the road. She further concludes that whatever the object's origin may be, it carried no heat and was of an extremely low mass.
It's really a wild guess, but clearly I cannot think of any natural phenomena coming from the sky and leaving the dirt like that and not also causing a lot of damage to the car. So it's truly a mystery.
This event is just one of more than 3,000 incidents that have been categorized as trace cases since the 1960s. Despite the ongoing debate between skeptics and believers, trace evidence offers up proof of scientific abnormalities. Abnormalities that have yet to be explained. Today, the UFO community pays tribute to one man for bringing trace cases to the forefront of scientific scrutiny. Northwestern University astronomer and U.S. government UFO consultant, Dr. J. Allen Hynek.
So he turned on a lot of people to do something besides just report UFOs. He said, specialize, specialize, specialize. Come up with something that you can do that somebody else can't. And he's the one that actually stimulated the study of trace cases.
Allen Hynek and I, as we went through the years, became very, very good friends. And he believed that so many things were going on that they had to be categorized. And because we were throwing a lot of things into one basket, and you're going all the way from a light in the sky to a landing and little guys.
Out of these UFO cases, Dr. Hynek and Phillips agree that the most startling evidence came from the trace cases. They believe that this scientific evidence could be the key to solving the UFO riddle.
When we could get to a site early on enough to be able to do compression tests on those indentations and determine a fairly accurate weight distribution. And the weights that you would come up with on the egg-shaped objects would be on the order of 14, 15 tons, and the classic disc about 8 to 10 tons.
These early observations led Dr. Hynek and Phillips to the belief that they were onto something big. Then, in 1964, an event in Socorro, New Mexico, changed their entire approach to the UFO topic.
There was a police officer, Lonnie Zamora. He was driving his police car. He heard a noise and he thought somebody had blown up a dynamite shack or something.
Being a cop, he has that curiosity factor. Something happened out of the ordinary. What was that flash? Comes up over a little rise. There, about 75 yards from him, is an object sitting on the ground.
He sees this sort of egg-shaped craft sitting on the ground with what seemed to be two child-sized beings next to it in one-piece outfits. And it took off with a roar, which scared the bejeebers out of him, as you can imagine.